A very good afternoon to everyone. So today we will be discussing about the chapter called Glimpses of the Past. Okay. So in this chapter we will be discussing or will be coming to know about how the glorious past was there in our country India. But because of some foreign invaders, foreign rulers, our India has to suffer a lot. Okay, so in this chapter, we will be discussing about the very beautiful, glorious past of India, and also in relating to it, we will be discussing about how these foreign rulers ruled and how, because of these rulers, how we have to suffer in the past and what the and how the martyrs how they sacrifice their lives to bring freedom to our country, bring freedom to our motherland. Okay, so today in this class we will be discussing about this very fact of India, about how she was in the past and how she was survived in that situation. Okay, so let's begin with this chapter first. Let me share the screen. So at the very beginning, you can see that the first part we will be discussing about the martyrs. Martyrs means those who sacrifice their lives for their motherland and for our country, that is India. Okay, so at the very beginning of this chapter, we will be discussing how these common people suffered so much because of the ruler. Okay, because of the Britishers, and as you know that this history has created not in a sudden. Okay, it was not created in a sudden moment. It was not created in the overnight. Okay, it took such a long time. You can see that from 1757 to 1857, so almost around 100 of years this ruler took place in our country, and they ruled our country for all around almost around 200 years. So British ruled almost around 200 years in our country, and they declared us as slaves. Okay, and they declared that we are slaves to them, and they were in that attitude that they didn't like our service, and they were saying that Indian peoples are not trustworthy enough. Okay, so here we can see the misbehaviors and the real motives, real intentions that lie behind the mindset of the Britishers at that time. Okay, so let's begin with the chapter. So at the first, what what does this how does this chapter begins? Like the martyrs. Okay, so the martyrs begins with the function that was held in Delhi. Okay, and our very well-known singer Lata Mangeshkar ji was singing that song that was dedicated to the martyrs who sacrificed their lives for their country. Okay, so she was singing like, "Oh my countrymen, let your eyes fill with tears as you recall the sacrifices of India's martyrs." Okay, so you can clearly see in this picture that Lata Mangeshkar ji was singing that song in Hindi, as you call like that. "ए मेरे वतन की को ज़रा आंखों में भर लो पानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनको." It's like that kind of a song. Already, I think all of you must have heard about the song. That is a song for the martyrs who sacrificed their lives. Okay, so you can see in this picture like, "Oh my countrymen," she was singing like, "Let your eyes fill with tears as you recall the sacrifices of India's martyrs. So at the very beginning, you can see that she was singing about a very sad song uh, uh, that was dedicated to the martyrs of our country. Okay. At that time, we can also see that there are so many misconceptions and unclarity among the people of our country. And because of this unclarity, that means the princes, the kings of the time, they were foresighted. Foresighted means what? Foresighted means they were so unclear about some facts, some incidents that were occurred in front of their eyes, but they were not able to see the real motives, the real intentions behind the Britishers' mind, and that led to the destruction and led to the downfall of the prosperity of our motherland, that is India. Okay. So there were so many people in common people were suffering a lot. The kings and those who were in support, the rich people of India who were in support of these Britishers, they came aside and they were like for their self benefits, they were fighting among themselves. Like they were taking help during the fight, during the war for to they were fighting and they were defeating the other kings and they were taking help from the Britishers, and it was a point of like that the Britishers were thinking that, oh, they were taking help from us. That means they were dependent upon us. Okay, so it is type of feeling for the Britishers that they were able to that one day they will be able to defeat this country. They will able to defeat this fellow people with their high hidden intentions. Okay, so these were the thinkings that were going in their mind. So you can clearly see that because of these martyrs, we were able to survive and we were able to got receive back our uh, uh, past glory, that past that pride from that Britishers rule. Okay, so it is a very clear fact that we are able to bring our glorious past once again back to our lives. Okay, so in the second part, we will be discussing about the company's conquest. Okay, so company, by the name of the company, what directly comes to your mind? It's like the company means that East India Company. Okay, so it is the East India Company, and their time was like in between 1757 they came, and within this time of in this time of reign of in this time from 1757 to 1849 they were very much attached to this land, and they were trying to make so many profits, whether at the cost of the fellow people of this country. Okay, so the so many hidden motives were there in their mind. So let's just read this portion. Like with its superior weapons, the British East India Company was extending its power in 18th century India. So it was a time of 18th century India, and due to this so many sufferings and so many misconceptions, so many people were going against the common people, and so many people were going for the support of the Britishers. So because they didn't know the hidden meaning and the hidden motives of the Britishers actually. So that's why the problem was a big one, because they were not trustworthy according to the Britishers. So let's begin with this one. Like with its superior weapons, the British East India Company was extending its power. Okay, superior weapons means what? They were uh, they were there in the business of exporting and importing things from India to England and England to India. And by doing this, they were also laying very heavy tax upon the farmers, and because of that, the farmers are not able to repay the loan at the same time. And what we can see that the Indian princes were short-sighted. See in the picture, you can clearly see that in this picture, in the second picture, Indian princes were short-sighted, means they were not clear about the real motives lying behind the Britishers' mind. Okay, so they were in one side, they were thinking about themselves and they were fighting in between the kings, and some of them were taking the help of the Britishers to win that war. Okay, so see that Indian princes were short-sighted, and then after Raza told the British merchants they will help me to defeat him. See in the pictures, it is clear that to defeat another king, he was all way ready to uh, take the help of the Britishers. Okay, so this was among the because of this war were going on, there were no peace in the life of the or in the minds of the common people because they were fighting among themselves, and the Britishers were taking interest and they were enjoying that things, and they were determined that yes, these people will come to be dependent upon us in one day. So they were so sure that these kings and other common people will also be following them as soon as possible. So these things happened or started right at the beginning of 1765. Okay. Then the people had no peace. Okay, you can see that the people means these people means to whom they are referring to whom it is referring to, the common people. Okay, the common people had no peace due to such constant fights. Okay, because of these constant fights, they were unable to live a peaceful life. So it was a not a peaceful situation for any of the people. Okay, and then in the next picture, we'll see that the rivalries helped the East India Company and it could easily subdue Indian princes one by one. So, see, among us also at that time, so many people were divided into different types. Like some of the rich people were there, some of the common people were also there. But what happened? The rich people, there were so many rich people are there, and among them also so many dividers, so many different type of rich people are there. So among the one part of the people, they thought that British were a God's gift to them. Okay, British were a God's gift to them. So according to them, that they thought that God has sent these Britishers to their homeland to make them more lucky and to make them more richer than before. And for the, and some other people, they were like helping hand, and they like that if they were coming, what happened, our India, our country will be prospering in the same time, the same moment. Okay, so they were not like they were thinking that okay, God has sent a very good gift to us and they will be beneficial in our future, but they were not understanding and they were not clear about the hidden motives of the Britishers. That's why they were called like the princes, the kings were far-sighted. They were called the far-sighted because they were not clear about these things, about these motives of the Britishers. Okay, so you can see that the rivalries help. So because of their own benefits, the rivalries means one of the part of the Indian people, the rich people, they help the East India Company. Okay, they help the East India Company, and it could easily subdue Indian princes one by one. And because of this support to the East India Company, they got more support to defeat these princes one by one, and they were gaining their power among the common people. Okay, they were the East India Company were gaining power day by day. A far-seeing ruler like the brave Tipu Sultan of Mysore fought the British till he died fighting. See, among them, even though that most of the people, the kings, the peoples were fighting for their own benefits, there was a far-sighted king. He was so learned and he was so well concerned about the motives of the British. He was well known about the fact that the British has arrived to our country not for anyone's benefit but for their own benefits. Okay, so He was saying, he was thinking correctly at that moment that, okay, if the Britishers will be there, we will be their slaves in one day. One day we will definitely become their slaves, and it is better to die bravely fighting against them than to become a slave of the British. So he was that much of a courageous king, and he was so far-sighted, and he was very intelligent. That's why what he did, he was one of the talented and intelligent king who died and who sacrificed his life while he was fighting against the British. So he was said like he was a far-seeing ruler, like the brave Tipu Sultan. So Tipu Sultan was one of the bravest and the most intelligent king at the time, who knew that what was the hidden motive that was lying behind the minds of the Britishers. So he didn't want to give the Britishers the power. Okay, that's why he, till the end of his death, till the end of this end of the fighting, he died. Even though at the time of his death, he was fighting against the Britishers. Okay, so these were the incidents that took place at the time when Britishers were there in our country, and they were starting to gain power, and by taking the help of these rich people of the society. Okay. Then in the next photo, also you can see how the Britishers were successful to uh, how the Britishers were successful to gain the power by making the main fact that divide and rule. Okay, the divide and rule is the main motive of these Britishers. Like that, they were dividing the people into different sections in our society, and because of this division, because of this thinking differences, they divided among them. They were able to divide these people to a commoners one side, they to the commoners, and in one side they took the rich people, and because of this dividends they were able to gain more power by day. So these were the main. So to rule in this country, and to rule this country, it was their main motives. Okay. Then again in this days, you can see that there were so many conquests. Okay, because of this conquest, some conversions were going on like that. As I have already told you that some of the rich people they thought that the Britishers were the gift of God. Okay, see, thank you. There is peace in the country now. No more wars and no looting by thugs. This God who sent the British. See, before arriving of the Britishers, also there were so many fightings going on between the kings. But after the Britishers came, what happened? The Britishers were able to they were successful in dividing these people, and they created a different type of mindset in the among the people. And the rich people, some of them who thought that there is peace because of the interference of the Britishers. Now they are thinking that, okay, this time as the Britishers has interfered in their lives, now we hope that there will be peace in our country. So no more wars and no looting by the thugs will be there. Okay, so Britishers are the God gifts for them. So they thought that the Britishers were the God's gift that is sent to them by gods. Okay. So they will also think that because it is a God's gift, because God has sent His Britishers to our life, so our destiny is linked with them. See how they are thinking? They are thinking that their destiny was linked with them. So they thought Britishers as their own destiny. Okay, so they were also not able to understand what their motives of these Britishers would be. and how dangerous it could be in the future coming future time. Okay, so they were so vulnerable, and they were saying that our destiny is linked with them. So how did Indians react to this conquest? Is this type of pictures, by reading these pictures or by seeing these pictures, you will be able to know what were the mindsets and what were the thinking capability of the people at the time. They were not able to capture the real motives and intentions of the Britishers. See, and one part of the people, what they thinking that the white man has killed or dethroned our kings. See, and this part of the people in the right side, they were thinking that the white man means the Britishers has killed or dethroned our kings. Sorry, dethroned our kings. So the white man has killed and dethroned our kings. So they were thinking that our kings would be killed by this white man. And some kings were not good, but after all, they were of this land. So they were also thinking, these common people were thinking that even though these some kings were not good, but they were all in all in our land. They were the masters of our land. So now we have become slaves for foreigners. See, so now these common people, this part of people of our society at the time, they were thinking, they were not rich. They were not that rich people, okay, but they were thinking like that after the invasion or after the ruling, after they started ruling, or they were able to make the differences between the people as the kings and the different type of kings were fighting for their own sake. Then they were thinking, these people, common people are thinking that some kings were not good, but after all, they were of this land. Even though some kings were not good according to them, they were, after all, they were their king. Okay, so king was there at that time. But after the arrival of these white men, these Britishers, as the kings were being killed, so now they are thinking that if all the kings will be killed, then what will happen to us? We will become, we will become the slaves of the foreigners. So now we have to become the slaves of these foreign rulers. So already they started thinking that they have to be the slave of these Britishers. Okay. So in this chapter, also you'll be getting so many different movement, so many movement like, and by this thinking and by this uh, because of these incidents, what happened, we can recall that at the end of the at the time of 1857, the first war of independence started because of this type of consequences happened, these situations, this war, because there were no peace in the minds of the people, and it was like a uh, it was like a very unpeaceful situation for them, and because of it, one a very great movement was started, and this movement was not started all of a sudden or all of it overnight. Okay, so it took so many times, and within these 100 years, the people has realized that the Britishers were in our motherland because just because to rule our country, and they had no other motives. They were coming because they wanted to rule our country. So by gradually, by the passing of the time, they realized that they are these Britishers has come to our country to rule us, to rule our country. And because of this rebellious mindset, the people started one great movement, and it can also be called as the first war of independence, and it was occurred at the time of 1857. Okay, so this period holds some instances that are worth remembering. Okay, so this type of incidences and this type of instances were happened before before the starting of this movement, first war of independence. Okay, so because of this instances, incidents that were caused because of the Britishers, the common people were much aware by the passing of the time, and they were thinking that no, we cannot be the slave of this Britishers, this white men. So there started a great movement, and it can be called as the first war of independence. And by reading this chapter, Glimpses of the Past, we will be coming to know that how these people has suffered in the past, and because of these martyrs, their sacrifice, we were able to gain or return, were able to get back our own country from these white foreigner rulers. Okay, because of they were so superpower, they were powerful rulers, and it took so much so long time to gain back our country from these rulers. So it is a very important incident or important fact that makes a great question or a great mark in our past, in the history of the past of our country. Okay. So by reading this chapter, we will also be discussing about the British rule, how they ruled our country. They follow the they follow the very clever fact like the divide and rule. So they were well known about the fact that we don't have uh, we don't have understanding in between we don't have the unity in our people. They understood that we don't have the unity in between our people. So they were capable of catching our mind. Okay, and they started dividing in between the people of India. Okay, so in during the time of British rule, we can also see that there were a part of people who some kind of religious leaders were there at the time. Okay, so they were also with part of uh, this incident because they were uh, they were preaching like the religious leaders, and what is said like that leaders preach in the ideas like untouchability and child marriage. See, these religious leaders were also taking part with the Britishers in some moments, like they were very superstitious. Okay, so this mindset has a very negative effect in the people of our country. Like religious leaders preach the ideas like they preach the very uh, low mentality, and they reflect the low mentality of they were because they were preaching the ideas like untouchability. Okay, they created this term untouchability. They created and these were the people who created the divisions between the people, the class between the people, the higher class, the lower class, the untouchability, the Brahmins, the Islams, and also they were supporting child marriage. Okay, marriage is a very touching fact. Like it is not acceptable in our society, but at that time they were superstitious because they were also thinking, because in their mind they think that all the miseries that are happening in this world, according to them, it is happening because of the women. So see how miserable their mindset was. They were thinking that it was the women who were creating all the miseries of this world. So for their thinking, this type of thinking, they were saying that child marriage is important because a girl should get married at a very young age. Because of this type of things, they will suffer because of women. He said that anyone who crosses the seas crosses his religion. So they were these religious leaders were saying, and they were giving some ideas. Okay, the first one, what he said that they were saying like that anyone who crosses the they so see they were creating superstitions. And number one is that anyone who crosses the seas loses his religion. See what type of mindset here? He was giving this type of mindset in the common people. He said that anyone who crosses the seas loses his religion, and all the miseries in the world is due to women. And they were saying that the truth was that Indians had lost self-respect. The British scorned them. See, because of these class divisions, the British understood that it would be very easy for them to rule our common people, because they came to know, they were clear enough that we have no unity among us. So this has become a very good advantage for the Britishers to uh, a very good advantage for the Britishers to rule over our country as well as our common people. Okay, so in the next picture, you can see that the truth was that Indians had lost self-respect. Okay, so British found them. So British knew that they were very clear about the fact that the Indians had already lost self-respect, because of these divisions and misunderstandings that were created in between them. They were not trustworthy at all. So because of this, not they, because some of the people of our society is supporting them, and some of the part of the society is the people were not supporting the Britishers. Okay, so by doing so, they can be clearly, there can be clearly visible that there were divisions in our society. See, the natives are unworthy of trust, incapable of honesty. So the Britishers were in this picture. The Britishers, one of the Britishers, he was discussing among them that the natives are unworthy of trust, incapable of honesty. So they understood by the time that the natives are unworthy of trust, incapable of honesty. So true, you honor, but I am honest. See, again, we can see clearly that in behind this common people who thought that these Britishers are God gifted things to them, and now he has to become a slave by any way to them. So they are like oiling to this Britisher, like that. Yes, you honor true, but please believe me, I am honest. So this, by doing this type of acting or this type of mentality, by showing this type of mentality, they were making it clear that they are at all not trustworthy, because they were also coming to the Britishers for their self benefit or for their self help. Okay, so they were understanding the fact that these common people, or those who are coming towards them, they are coming only for their own benefits, and for their own benefits they are also don't mind, though they won't even mind to become their slaves. Okay, so it was so clear that they were very they were not trustworthy, and they were not also they are honest. Okay, they were dishonest. They lost honesty. They lost trustness, the faith among them, among the people. Okay, so in the next page, you can see that being merchants, the British wanted quick profits. Their heavy taxes forced farmers to abandon their fields. See, so now you can see clearly the real motives of the East India Company and the Britishers. Okay, so what conceptions and what intentions were carrying within them? They were carrying within them while coming to India. Okay, and so being merchants, the British were, as we all know, that they were businessmen, they were merchants. At first, they were coming to India for their business purpose. Okay, so being merchants, the British wanted quick profits. Okay, see, as a businessman, obviously they will want quick profits. Okay, their heavy taxes forced farmers to abandon their fields. So, as they wanted quick profits, they want quick benefits, and for them, and because of the quick profits, they were imposing heavy taxes upon the farmers, upon the common people, common farmers of our country. And because of these heavy taxes, they were They were indebted to a heavy loan, and they were not able to repay that loans at that required time, and because of that they had to abandon they had to leave their fields, their own place, own land. Okay, but your men are talking all my crops. See, sorry, but your men are taking all my crop. You are still in arrears. If you don't pay tax next week, I will send you to jail. See, this type of situation the Britishers had created among the farmers because they were so poor and they wanted some money at the very recent time. But what to do? Because of the heavy tax, they were not able to repay back the loan, and for that they had to abandon their fields. And because in this picture you can see clearly that this farmer is requesting this officer that, but your men are taking all my crop. See, because they don't understand what is going inside their lives, what is going inside their country, they are not aware of. They were just normal farmers. So they were not able to understand what is going inside the minds of the Britishers. So they were asking, one of them is asking them, but your men are taking all my crop. So according to him, his man was taking all the crops from him. So according to him, then because the crops are taken away, so their fields should be remain their own. But they are not aware of the tax. Okay, so you can directly understand by reading it that you are still in arrears. He said that you are still in arrears. Okay, you are not giving the required tax at the time. So if you don't pay next week, see, I'm giving you next 1 week, 1 more week I'm giving you. I will send you to jail. See what much of torture they were giving. Like even they know that these farmers are not capable of giving away the taxes at the required time because they were poor, and it will take some time for them. But they are not. They are taking advantages of it, and they are giving them a very less time, like 1 week. If you don't pay next week, I will send you to jail. So these were the mental tortures that were getting the farmers are getting from the Britishers. Okay. So they were on the more profit grounds. Okay. The Britishers were more interested in making more profits. So they were not thinking about the farmers. They were not thinking anything about the common people. They were so selfish that they only wanted to gain more and more and to rule our country. So this is a part of the coming movement because of this type of pressure and this type of uh, sufferance, this type of suffering thing happens, and they will suffer so much because this type of behaviors and this type of loans that were laid upon the farmers, the common people. Basically, these common people were suffering most because they were losing hope and trust. And as they were coming to know that their kings were no more the ruler of their world, okay, of their country, and these Britishers has become the new rulers of this country. So they were they were remaining vulnerable. They were not able to raise voice against these Britishers. So there were so many they suffered so much that even you can see that in this portion that inevitably famines followed. See, famines means the very much scarcity of food, and because of this Britishers behavior, what happened? Our country lacked sufficient amount of food, and the people were not getting sufficient food to survive. And because of these famines occurred in our country at the time, you can see between 1822 and 1836, among these years 15 lakh Indians died of starvation. See what type of sufferings they could have got at that time. Between 1822 and 1836, 15 lakh Indians died of starvation. Okay. So we can easily see that how much sufferings they were getting at the time, how to what extent our Indian people were suffering because of the Britishers' behavior and Britishers' motives and their own intentions. Okay, and because of this, so much of sufferings and so much of pressure and these instances, these incidences that bring the moment of the first war of independence. So we can also discuss about these things in the next class. Okay, then we'll be continuing in the next class. Okay. Okay, then thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye.